After Yeonjun is left the flat, things go back to be kind of normal, or as normal as things can be. If normal is even a thing in Taehyung life anymore, he's not sure. The flat is eerily empty and quiet, but at least there aren't Jungkook stuff lying around, reminding him of what he's had, or couldn't have had. He's not stupid. He knows that in due course he will be needing to let thoughts about Jungkook in and out, but one step at a time. Slowly, he lets Lee back in. He starts with him, and it's great, really, to have him and his supportive ways back in his life. Taehyung isn't ready to talk about his adventure with Yeonjun just yet, so he sticks with the depression story. For now. Which is part of the truth, anyway. Stan and Yum, and the others, are very respectful and stick to sending kind texts regularly, while waiting for him to be ready. Not forcing their company upon him. Letting Taehyung know that they are there, giving him of his space, relieved that at least Lee is allowed to be there with him. October and November rolls on, and Taehyung doesn't hear a word from Jungkook. He doesn't contact him either. They are co-owning the flat, which is convenient right now when neither of them seems overly interested in joining forces for a sale. Not yet. There'll be a time for that later. Obviously, he's glad that he has somewhere to stay, and he's also grateful that he has a longer pause in work when it comes to touring, recording, writing. There's nothing big scheduled until after next year, on his own request. As it is now, he chooses to play some piano, some guitar, hum on some seeds for new songs. Stan and Yum are back in his life. He's lost touch with Rose, because she's Jungkook's friend from the beginning. She has tried to contact him more times than he can count, and it's not like he's ghosting her, but he lets her know, over and over, that he's not ready. In the middle of December Yeonjun calls, and Taehyung finds himself thinking that it feels like the timing is exactly right. "You look well," Yeonjun exclaims when they meet up in a cafe, just down the road from Taehyung flat. So do you, because he thinks that he really does. And that's it. Nothing's awkward and the conversation flows easily. Taehyung apologizes for his behavior, having used Yeonjun to numb his feelings, something he realized that he was doing rather immediately. Yeonjun accepts the apology, and gives one in return, for not having stepped back when he should have. Taehyung accepts that one. And then they drop the subject. Instead, they talk about Christmas and New Year, and about the fact that Yeonjun has started seeing someone new. "We tell the guys what happened with us, only if you want to," Taehyung says, and Yeonjun nods, shrugging. "I just don't know if it feels relevant." Taehyung can see exactly where he's coming from, and decides, let's keep this to us for now, then. Something good came out of it, that's what matters. Our friendship, yes. Being grateful for the turn of events, they say goodbye, with lighter hearts and happier eyes. The black, all-consuming hole left after Jungkook is as big as ever, though, and he can only hope that time will help to shrink it. Lee said something good the other day, namely that he thought Taehyung should seek out a therapist. He voiced it to Yeonjun today, during their meeting at the cafe, who thought it was a splendid idea. He really encouraged him to do it, so, when Taehyung gets home, he makes it happen by making the call immediately. Taehyung comes out of the corridor on the upper deck, taking the stairs down to the main area. He sees Yoongi and his friend Laura talking with Justin and Jack, so he walks in that direction, thinking that him coming to them must kill all possible thoughts or suspicions Justin may have had about him and Jungkook missing. Smiling wildly, Has his smile ever faded during this trip? Yoongi pulls him in for a hug and ruffles his hair. Taehyung, who's still only in his swimming shorts, shivers a bit in the afternoon breeze. So, Justin here was looking for Jungkook, but he's nowhere to be found, Yoongi says, flipping down his Ray-Bans over his eyes. You've seen him now. Swimming. Perhaps he gestures with his hand towards the swimming area behind the boat. Me and Seokjin and Jimin went in with him but lost him straight away. I went for drinks instead. Justin eyes him curiously but then nods. He loves swimming, he says, and Taehyung wants to reply. No shit, because he has known Jungkook for much, much longer than he has, and in addition been his boyfriend for much, much longer than he has. So yeah, thanks for the info, but he knows that Taehyung likes to swim. Instead, he bites his tongue, and Yoongi looks relieved, even though he's hiding behind his shades. I'll go and have a look, Justin says and smiles at Jack, who, without hesitation, follows him down to the rear of the boat. Tell Jungkook to jump in the water from the side of the boat or something, Yoongi suggests, and Taehyung raises his eyebrows. That would tie up our story nicely. I honestly don't think Justin suspects anything, Taehyung says. And, besides, there's nothing suspicious going on anyway, Yoongi deadpans with his whole body. You honestly think I believe that? How about you? Should you? Jungkook. Nothing but swim shorts. Half drunk. Soulmates, Yoongi. That would be a first in that case. Shut the up, will you? Taehyung blurts out, not angrily, just a bit nervously, but obviously Yoongi wouldn't have said anything if anyone was within earshot. No, of course nothing happened. You just stood here a minute ago, speaking with his boyfriend. Mind you're just such a handsome couple, Tae, a perfect couple. Have always been. I just can't get it off my mind. You should get back together, Yoongi says, and Taehyung just can't believe this. To Yoongi's defense, he doesn't know anything about their breakup. He doesn't know how wrong everything went, how sour everything turned, and how depressed they've been about it. One thing is to be loyal to him and Jungkook, because they needed a quick talk, but insinuating that he'd help them cheat is a completely different story. He's obviously overstepping, but Taehyung can't help but love him for it. He keeps his cool though. Nothing would ever happen between me and him as long as he's with Justin, Taehyung says, and fixates Yoongi with his eyes, making him understand that he's out of line, but that he's not too upset about it. Of course. Sorry, he says, but his sparkly eyes reveals that he doesn't mean a word of it. Nothing would ever happen between him and Jungkook whilst he's with Justin, Taehyung knows that. Even if he himself got completely floored when Jungkook turned on his charm, and probably would have gone with whatever he would have wanted, he's sure Jungkook is just as averted as himself to cheating. But come a potential breakup between them, well, then Taehyung isn't so sure. Jungkook's fingers over his neck and shoulder, down along his spine. It's all still very fresh in his memory. As is Jungkook's nose against his neck, inhaling Taehyung's scent deeply. Taehyung blinks and forces himself out of the memory. If that wasn't one hell of a hot moment between them. God, he would have sacrificed a lot to have been allowed to explore that some more. He tries to look like Yoongi needs to be put in place, but quite frankly, he loves Yoongi for his honesty and support. What he doesn't know is that Taehyung wishes that they were boyfriends just as much as he does. Taehyung goes to therapy, and he starts to hang out with the gang again. He works just as much as he wants and feels that he's capable of. A few good songs come out of it, both lyrics and music. Wanting to heal may be one thing, but he actually feels that he does. It's a good feeling. Slowly becoming more relaxed, more content, feeling real happiness from time to time. Having been given tools to identify and manage when the anxiety or sadness creep upon him, he gets less and less scared of having Jungkook in his history bank. And the bad moments happen less and less frequently. He has learned to let memories and thoughts of Jungkook into his life, in small portions, instead of shutting down when Jungkook insists on participating. When he doesn't accept to stay at the back of Taehyung's head but needs to make a grand entrance and tell Taehyung a thing or two. Those are the moments Taehyung fears the most, because this is when Jungkook reminds him of what he could have done differently. He meets up with Ross a few times. Having insisted on it for a long time, she finally gets her way. It's part of Taehyung healing too, he reckons. He never initiates to talk about Jungkook, but she does. He can tell she treads the waters carefully, but she drops a comment about him now and then, anyway. In the beginning she lets him know that Jungkook is struggling with their breakup, but he doesn't interpret it as if he's struggling as much as he does himself. Then she tells him that he's finished the album. Then that he's out on tour. He'd lied. He said he wasn't interested in Jungkook's doings, very interested, in fact, but he can't help but think that it's a sick curiosity, one that isn't healthy. That he's still pining for him. He's not sure what's what, but it's still very hard to think about him without the sting, without the immediately ensuing heartache. But at least he's not so afraid anymore. It's a rather uneventful early part of the year for his part, but that's also absolutely perfect. It's a bit boring, but it ensures he gets a lot of time to just be, and as Ruth calls it, getting in deeper contact with his real self. Okay. That sounds good and all, but finally Taehyung starts to climb the walls. And that's in a good way. He feels a thirst for things to happen, for the first time in long, and Lee suggests they go for a trip. So, Lee, Stan, Yuam and Yeonjun and his boyfriend Isaac goes for a whole week to the Canary Islands. They've rented a large, rather luxurious house, which is gated and private, and they stay inside the premises for more or less the whole time they're there. A cook and a cleaner are included in the rent of the house, and for once Taehyung decides that he should be comfortable with the extravagant, but still unnecessary, service. The house comes with a pool and a tennis court and an outside bar and a huge lounge area. They don't need anything else and thrives in the warm weather and to just hang out and socialize with each other. Perhaps it's strange that he doesn't feel more awkward that Yeonjun and Isaac are there, but somehow their presence serves completely the opposite purpose. They are a calming point with their happiness and love for each other. It only feels uplifting and grounding, really. It's on the third day that he spots a familiar guy on the beach. He has to blink and look away, and blink again and fixate his eyes on him, because that can't be, can it? The bloke with the confident posture, dark wavy hair and amazing laugh stands a bit out in the water, playing some kind of volleyball with a woman his age.